IMHO Talk Show.
Hold on, wait.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion, only on 101.3 Jams.
It's the questions.
You said it.
And it's been a minute.
It's been a moment.
Am I introducing this one?
Sure you can. I mean,
Okay.
unless you really want me to.
No.
Then I can.
Feel free to. Oh, Razor's here.
Razor's in the building. I mean, it's been so long, like I'm pretty sure I used to kick it off. Everybody used to say something crazy and then used to make sense of it all. That's how we used to do it.
Okay.
Who's the somebody say something crazy?
I'm sorry, did I say that out loud?
I feel like I'm being talked about in my own face.
School resource officers.
Okay, Maxie, let's get to it. Y'all playing.
Hot button topic. Definitely one that the Charlottesville School Board, students, parents alike are discussing. How do we feel about them? Do we want to have school resource officers back in our local high school?
Razor, should I kick it to you because you may, since you online, since you virtual, maybe while we can.
I think that we should have school resource officers for the simple fact that people don't raise their kids. The fights that our children are showing around, like they kept World Star going. I mean, children getting hurt, teachers getting hurt, principals getting fired because your children are unruly and somebody got to be the fall guy. I mean, what do you want? Like, I mean, essentially, you're unraising them to go to prison and jail anyway. So they might as well get used to protocol anyhow.
Well, there it is.
Razor, I mean, should the studio audience clap for that? Yes, because it's our humble opinion.
Yeah.
So before y'all email IMHO Talk Show, email Razor.
I ain't reading it.
Because it's humble opinion. And y'all can chime in, please do. Because we always appreciate that, good or bad.
Yeah.
The feedback. As long as you're listening, that's all that matters, right? So I guess it's my go. Since this is Ask Max.
I think so.
She don't want to bring it home. All right. So school resource officers. First, let's say that. Class, repeat after me. School resource officers. And the reason that I say that is because, in this week's city school board meeting, as well as just in general conversation, and in any conversation, Max and Razor, like y'all know that words matter. Enunciation even matters. Context matters. So as with most debates, things will be phrased and framed in a way to prove your point. Like we all been in arguments, debate, whatever you want to call it. And we all know that when you want to make a point, you use certain words, use certain temperament even to make sure that your point is getting across. I say that because a school resource officer plays many roles. We had former chief of police. We had Dr. Rochelle Brackney on that long ago, and she even broke that thing down in ways that I wasn't really informed about before. So I bring that up because that makes a difference in whether or not they're in the schools. What exactly are they doing? Because do I agree with there being, and Razor, I would pose this to you as well. Would you be okay if your child, your black son, had to go into a hostile environment because it was militarized? Because if there was an armed police officer and pretty much intimidating your child, right? I don't think any of us want that. But
absolutely so. I would much rather have an armed guard in there. If I feel that I have taught my children that somebody's there for order is intimidating, that's the first problem. Now, then that starts at home. Now, if there's no officer there and my child, because he doesn't live in the neighborhood and he's an outcast, has to walk around, can't go to the cafeteria at certain times because he doesn't want to get jumped, can't say something to girls because it's only him. Nah, man, that ain't no way to live. That's how
Mm-hmm.
parents and people over 18 end up at the schools
Mm-hmm.
having problems with unruly kids. That when they see, they don't care that that's an adult, they're gonna talk to them like it's another child, and then everybody chimes in to talk about how wrong something is and doesn't look at the root of the problem.
I feel you totally. So my take on that, like my spin on that though, would be I feel like that a school resource officer plays many roles. I don't agree. My humble opinion, that the listener is asking Max's question, should we have SROs? My thing is, I feel like that when it's time to go into any like enforcement, any any restraining that needs to be done to debunk a situation, I feel like then having that resource in your school is a benefit. But my whole thing is, I don't believe, Max, that our children need to constantly be in an environment where they feel like that they're in a military zone. But I do feel like that they need to know that this is a part of the staff and faculty. That's really, when I walk in this building, I shouldn't feel any different whether I see this SRO versus if I see the principal or I see a teacher, I see a custodial worker, because they're here for for my education. They're here to make sure that this is a safe environment. But I should find solace in knowing that if something about to jump off, somebody will think twice because this resource is here at the building. Now, also, and I don't even disagree with people who say, well, they should be on the perimeters or they should be this place and that place, right? I mean, if we can work that out, I don't really have a dog in that fight. But I do feel like that the safety is number one, and I think that, and I believe there's examples of those being implemented in the schools to where the kids do not feel like that they got to worry about being profiled. Right. They don't have to worry about feeling like that they are like being watched about the law. Like there's so much talk that goes into it about people saying, okay, like, but then they're going to start profiling based on something that a family member did or something that happened in your community. Now they're watching their kid at school. Of course, we would have to cut those type of things off. Make sure those type of things don't happen. But another piece I'll mention, Max, is the funding. People talk about the funding, saying the money should be going towards other resources and whatnot. While I understand that, like me, I'm the kind of person, I think y'all heard me mention it before. I'm never the type, this makes me think about taxes even. I'm never the type to be like, well, if you want something paid for, you got to raise taxes. No, that's not always the case. Sometimes it's about budgeting, right? Sometimes it's about earmarking. And so I feel like we should be able to chew gum and walk at the same time. You know what I mean? Yep. So just because something else the school needs funding doesn't mean that you can't fund more than one thing.
Charles, can I ask you a question? May I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If what you said is the case, I believe you're looking at the school resource officers as issue one. I look at it as issue two. Issue one is the individuals. I'm sorry. And when I say this is somebody who is an ex-con. All right. What I'm saying is you need to eliminate the children who are not there for education. You cannot give a pass for 50 years because your daddy on drugs in prison, your mama out here on drugs hoeing. This ain't, you don't get a pass to act how you want to act.
Too late.
For 1,000 years and put everybody else walking on eggshells and then look to blame somebody else instead of looking at the real problem.
I feel you, bro.
Can't do that.
I feel you. And lastly, last thing I'll say on my take, and I'll kick it over to Max, is that I believe this is last, unless I remember something else, Max. But people, with all these situations, we're talking about our children. We should be listening to the children. I agree with that 100%. When adults are around talking, has anybody asked the children? So from my viewpoint, when I've gone to school board meetings, parent-teacher conferences, whatever it may be, and when there's students there, the Black students who are there, to your point, Razor, to learn and not to bring a fight to school, not to bring outside issues into the school building, they are pretty damn stern.
That they want resource
the Black children that I've seen speak up, and for anybody gets any kind of prejudice in their mind, it includes some Black children who are in the inner city, who are in neighborhoods and whatnot that some people fear that this type of resource would be profiling, right? Some of them are like, I'm here for school. I'm here to learn, I'm here to play sports. I'm here to, see my friends. I ain't here for the trouble. If they here to cause trouble, they need to be dealt with. They need to be out of the school. They need to go to whatever other resource is gonna, of course, help them, right? So we're hearing this. Now, lastly, what you see happen as the reaction to that, sometimes some of our white allies in particular feel like that they have the data and the research, and a lot of times we know that guilt, that guilt that we talk about kicks in, and they're overly sensitive. And when I hear black families, black parents even say, no, the badass kids need to be dealt with like badass kids.
Yeah.
And then it's like you have some people who think that they're doing right. I feel like their heart is in the right place. They're like, oh, but no, we can't police black people because that makes me feel bad.
Yeah.
But when you have black people saying, we want our kids to be safe too, and we want this to be a positive and nurturing environment, then listen to them, people. Our allies, listen to us.
Hey, Charles, you know what else that makes me kick that before Max goes is that we have also, God, I'm gonna get in trouble for this. All right, whew. All right, here we go.
Oh,
we have a group of people who are opportunists. Some are there for the right reasons. Others that are there to get money from the city to say, "Hey, I'm here to help the young black youth. Give me some money, and I'm gonna be a counselor for them." Ain't counseling S. You know what I'm saying? Walking with them, having them shoot a basketball around, having them do little things is not counseling people. It is a scheme. I don't care who get mad to get money. It's an avenue that they can say, hey, we here to help. They here to help their pockets. And the data will show that because they ain't doing nothing. And if you think I'm talking about you, ask me and I tell you.
Is this why I played a disclaimer? Should I play
No, yeah, that burns me up, man, that you would take advantage of a child. I put that along the lines of like people that take advantage of small kids. I put it at that level.
Okay. All right. Well, this is the Ask Max. So, Ms. Max,
right.
What say ye?
So, in listening to the two of you talk, I think the first thing that needs to be agreed upon is what type of learning environment we want, right? And I think that we all agree that we want a safe learning environment where our pupils, our students can thrive, where they feel safe, where they feel empowered, where they can be educated, where they feel that is inclusive, that feels actually like a student body and not disjointed or fragmented, and whatever else we come up with. But I think that we all first need to get on the same page about that and then backscale as to how we accomplish that. One of the things that you mentioned a little while ago, Charles, made me think, who writes the job description for the resource officer? Because I did a Google search to see exactly what they were responsible for, but who gets to write that job description? Because that alone will help to debunk or diffuse a lot of angst that people are having about these individuals being in our schools. I disagree with placing SROs in our schools to make a specific group of individuals feel comfortable around individuals that are different than them. Okay. I believe that it is possible, although a delicate balance, to implement SROs into our schools in a way where it does not feel militarized, in a way where our students can feel like they are a friend, they are a confidant, they are, whatever, someone, a trusted person. It's a delicate balance, but I think that it is possible. Let's be honest. We are living in a different time, right? And in a time where SROs are almost necessary because, heaven forbid, if some crazy walk up into your child's school and with bad intentions, tell me who you want to be there. Right? I mean, it's almost necessary at this time. And if I'm lying, then go to your local favorite news, go to your favorite news outlet and look up the statistics, Google the statistics or what have you as to these different type of things happening and whether or not there was or wasn't someone assigned to that school who could have responded to that situation, right? It's almost necessary.
What about the teachers packing?
I don't believe in
that. Is that an alternative?
I don't believe in that.
No, I don't believe in that neither.
I also don't believe in hiring these people or these bringing in these volunteers to do a job that I emphatically believe that they are not equipped to do. So you want JoJo from down the street to come into the schools to volunteer to make sure that people don't fight. That sounds like a liability to me. I don't know about all of you, but there's a lot of room for error there. It should be someone who is professionally trained to be able to, mitigate these type of situations.
Right.
And so, yes, I do. Now, let me also say that I believe in the schools having resource officers, especially if it's necessary.
Okay.
When people was fighting for fun, I don't care. You're saying it was the issues at home that caused it, or issues amongst friends that caused it, or they woke up on the wrong side of the bed that caused it. It doesn't matter. Like, if a school needs that type of thing, like, we should be more concerned with the health and safety of everyone than to choose to not place someone in that school, right? Because my fear, with as much fighting that was going on over the school year, was that someone was going to get seriously hurt, right? We jumping off of desks and tables, and we throwing computers, and we hitting people with broomsticks and things like that. That could have turned out very, very bad. And it did, but fortunately not as bad as it could have. But at that time, yes, the school resource officers put them at the door. And anybody who can't behave accordingly, then they need to have other options, right?
So, Ms. Max, can I interject? Or you want to finish?
I think that's it for the most part.
So I want to elaborate a little bit on that, Ms. Max. So then that takes us to the argument about this thing of where do you allot the resources? And when we say resource, where do you allot the funding? Because to your point, one of the arguments that I heard at the school board meeting was the problems could be headed off. So people see officers in the school as more of a reactionary thing, and like at that point it's too late. So what about the point of view of, if we put some family resources, if we put some mental health resources for for everybody, if we fund making sure that kids aren't coming to school hungry, like all those things. So do you feel like that is a better answer?
So let's be honest, there's room for improvement in funding those different type of resources, but we are already funding those resources and those things aren't working, at least not to the level that we need them to. And sometimes additional support is required. SROs, you know what I'm saying? So, and as far as just funding that position in schools, period, I think Charlottesville, when something is a priority, is possibility,
Yes,
so I don't think that funding should be used as the excuse here. I think where the attention needs to be is, how do we do this in a way where it is impactful, where we get the optimal outcome, right? You can't throw this thing together, and you have to make sure that it's done with the best interests of the students at heart.
Number one.
And it needs to be closely managed and maintained. and it needs to be done in the individuals involved have to be willing to manage that in a way where when it isn't working, we are swiftly to correct it and redirect. Right?
Yeah. Hey, Max.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
We're not talking about the elephant in the room, too. Like, all right, Charlottesville has an abundance of private schools. The people who have the resources, the money, and are really making the decisions really don't care. They just don't want it spilling over into their neighborhoods or their life. What they do is they take their children and they pull them out of public education. And it's so many private schools around here that's what they do. That's y'all problem over there, you know. And everybody was so excited because football season was bad and basketball season was good and the city rallied behind it. But that's the way we saw it. I sincerely believe in my heart of hearts that there's a large group of people that still see us as entertainment.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Of course.
So wait a minute. So I'm getting back to what you said about the money being there. So if the city can allocate for an event to take a whole week, and we put money into it, or we do all these other things where we throw money into it, why would you not put money into the high school that has your city's name on it?
No, I agree with that.
But the people, like, we agree with it, but the people that make the decisions and cut the checks, they ain't never in those rooms. It don't take that long to get something done.
Yeah, and Razor
that's what we're doing right now. We calling out.
Yeah, and we making decisions right now. But the reason, I know this will be another conversation. So I'm gonna kick it to Max soon to take us home. Not home, but close this one out. But Razor, to your point too, is like that also makes me wonder. I think about this a lot. Like when you do have community pride, or like when you have generations that went to a school, or you really do want to rep for your city, but you get to that point and you're like, but my kid would be so much safer. My kid would be so much more nurtured. My kid would get more looks for his collegiate career or her collegiate career. So the sad part is when you're faced with that, and you're like, I don't want to go to this private school. But when I compare apples and oranges, it's very, very intriguing. Right. Like that's a thought. That is like an internal debate that a lot of us have had to have.
Yeah. And something else that when I talk about this being a delicate balance, like I don't believe in putting an SRO in our schools. It's I guess I'm saying that it's hard to take the police out of police, right? So I don't believe in putting an SRO in our schools who's going to be hopped off of, we're going to lock some people up. We're going to make this, whatever this is going on in schools, I'm going to put it into it, any little thing, I'm on it, yada, yada, yada. No, I don't. That's the wrong person for the job. Wrong person for the job. Yeah.
Then you got to suspend the kids. That's the problem. And stop giving them opportunities. I'm sorry.
Well, and I think that the approach that the interim principal has had the past several months is proof of that, right? We lost control and kids seemed to be running the school for a long time there. And when there was some order and some expectation and consequences, and it baffles me how adults still disagreed with that because something had to be done. It almost sounded like they just didn't want anything to be done. Right. But when those things were put in place, we got change. Yep. Right. And so
tough love.
Right. And so, the SROs, I would say, aren't the only answer to the issue that we're dealing with. Right. It's certainly a group effort, and structure like that needs to remain. And in theory, if it remains, then this SRO is just wasting his time or her time day in and day out, right? Because the faculty and staff are on these type of issues and handling them appropriately.
Better to have it and not need it.
There you go.
Yeah.
But lastly, what I'll say though, like
they'll be the first ones you point your finger
first ones
when there's a serious situation.
Yeah, but I do want to shout out and show some love too, though, to the good people who have been putting in hard work and the kids' education and well-being is
no doubt.
work, because there's a bunch of y'all out there, whether it's you that's staying after school, you teaching night school, whether you're counseling and mentoring,
right?
Shout y'all out. Couldn't do it without you. You are appreciated. You definitely are appreciated.
Right.
Ms.
True
Max.
that. True that.
Spare the rod, spoil the child.
Hey.
All right.
You get thrown in jail nowadays for that, Razor.
Hey, jail ain't that bad. No, just get there early so you can get a bottom bump.
All right, let's go to break. All right, we'll be back.
IMHO Talk Show.